It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica, live from Hattie B's at the factory in Franklin, now serving breakfast, open at 7 a.m. The AFC South news of the day, Jacksonville agreeing to a 5-year, $150 million deal with outside linebacker Josh Allen, $88 million of it in guaranteed money. Allen coming off a franchise record season with 17.5 sacks. Meanwhile, Titans coaches currently meeting with the media at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Head coach Brian Callahan stepped up to the podium, talked about the beginning of the offseason program and what it's been like early on to work with Will Levis for the first time.
What I've seen so far, and again, I'm still learning Will every day that goes on. But he's got an intensity and an intent to every time he walks in the building. I think you see that in his play. When you watch him play, you see that intensity, that fire that he's got.
For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blade and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, everybody, let's do this. Titans coordinators and Brian Callahan all speaking. Denard Wilson, the DC, has just taken the podium about a couple minutes in. Let's check in right now with the new Titans defensive coordinator, Denard Wilson, who is speaking to the media live.
You know, as we go through this offseason program and we start to compete against the offense, you know, we'll get our eyes and hands on them to know extremely how thorough he is about his assignment and what he does. And once we understand, you know, his strong suits and weaknesses, we'll put him in positions to line up and play in multiple spots. It's not always about, you know, from a scheme standpoint, it's not always about traveling to the best guy, because your coverage may dictate and say, go roll to the best guy, and he travels away. Sometimes you might want a guy like him to be into the boundary, you know, but when you look at it, you look at Cheeto and you look at Snead together, you know, those guys can line up and play left and right. So it's what's going to be advantageous to the defense throughout the course of that week. But both of them had that skill set, and it's a benefit as a defensive coordinator, as a team, to have both of them throughout the course of that week. But both of them had that skill set, and it's a benefit as a defensive coordinator, as a team, to have both of them.
How do you see Kenneth Murray, and you know, how can he elevate his game here? Can he wear the green dot?
Well, we're not focused on the green dot right now. I think that's up to you know, guys getting out there and performing, seeing how much information they can retain, first and foremost. But the thing with Kenneth is, just like when he came out of college, you saw the explosiveness. He's a big man. He's athletic. He's smart. He can make all the plays. For us, our thought process is to put him in a position to allow him to play free, to cut it loose, so he doesn't have to think as much right now. And as we start to let him go out there and cut it loose, and he plays fast and physical in the head of plays, then you give him the other responsibilities. But right now, it's about him being the best version of himself, the good self, all right, and trying to maximize his potential, so when he goes out and play, he plays free.
For us, you've kind of built so far, outside in. Are there certain things you wait on conceptually until you have some more pieces in terms of the rush plan and the blitz plan, until you know exactly what you have on the edge and that inside linebacker?
Well, the rush plan and the blitz plan is kind of already there. Like, we're going to do certain things. That's the core of the defense. However, you know, we have to get out there and see these guys perform. And it goes back to, it's not about scheme, it's about the players. So if the players can do certain things, we're going to put them in those positions to allow them to play to their strengths, to allow them to have success. So it's all predicated off of what they do well, how fast can we gel, how can we put it together, and then we can add pieces. Like right now, it's a foundation. So you're building a foundation on small things. You're stacking days. You're stacking concept. You're conceptually teaching so they understand the big picture. And the more they can do, then you give them more information. Then you throw it at them.
So in some regards, you got to wait to see who some of those pieces who aren't here.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. We're still in the process of free agency. It still isn't over, right? We're heading into the draft. We've made some great acquisitions for this defense and for this team. You know, you give Rand and his staff, and you give Callie all the credit. They brought in great people. right? And they brought in team people that's going to bring value to the team. So as we still go through this process, the end of the month with the draft and see how we come out of there, when we look at it and we put the defense together on who we have, and then it's time to go battle. It's time to go put it on the line and defend every blade of grass.
What's been your assessment so far of the defensive line beyond Jeffrey Simmons, who's obviously a Pro Bowl caliber player?
Well, look, we got young, talented players, right? And look, guys are the first slide I put up on the PowerPoint, I said, opportunity is now here, right? So their opportunity is here. So it's about those guys, and it's about the coaches, myself, and everybody in this building to develop these players, because we are in the business of developing players, right? So we don't know what they can or what they can't do until we touch them. Now it's our job to get them to play faster, get better, be better on our watch, progress as players, and then as they show what they are and what they can do, we'll start playing them in those positions. So it's not putting a player just in a square peg in a round hole. It's about the talent, what they do well, and then after we figure out what they do well, we'll put them in positions to have success.
You mentioned this team has gotten better since you've been here. Other teams in the division have gotten better too. How much do you pay attention to that now? How much can you do anything about that now, or how much is now focusing on your own guys and worry about that later?
Well, really, I don't focus on what other teams have. To me, they're nameless faces. Right? We're going to play a certain style. We're going to play with confidence. So it doesn't matter who they have on the team. It's 11 versus 11. And it's in terms of defense, it's 11 against 1. It's 11 versus the ball. So you can get a whole lot of receivers, a whole lot of weapons, but it's only one ball. And it's our job to surround the football and take it away.
What are your thoughts on the safety position, especially like the depth behind Hooker and Molden?
Like as I said, the guys we have here, they have talent. Molden, Hooker, they've had success in this league. It's about them getting better. We have the right coaches around them from a technique and fundamental standpoint to get them to play at a higher level, get them to understand concepts. Playing a safety position isn't all about your talent level. It's about reading the stems of receivers, understanding if it's two receivers on one side, if one it takes an exit angle here, what is the other one doing? It's getting to your spot, getting in position, all right, looking at the quarterback and then violently breaking on the ball. So in terms of those guys, they're going to get better. The young guys in the room, they provided another opportunity of who can go out there and play, right? And as we see it, they'll be put in spots where they can go out there and perform. In terms of the acquisition period, we're still going through that. So I don't know who we're going to add. I don't know who we're going to subtract. But whoever's here, we're going to coach the hell out of them.
And then when you look at that balance between the front end and the back end, I know you got DB in your background, but is it a true marriage where they help each other, or do you think that there's one that has more influence?
Look, I've been trained. I used to be a former scout. We have great DBs. But in this game, the game is won in the trenches, right? Offensive line, defensive line. The way you win in the National Football League is you do what? You stop the run and you affect the quarterback. Now, is it married? Yes, because when you can have corners or you have a scheme where they can get physical against receivers, and when that quarterback back foot hits and those receivers are connected, it causes a hesitation. It's a tick of time. And with a hesitation or tick of time, the D lineman put them down. Also, when you have guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key and Weave and all these guys up front, when they can beat their one-on-ones, now the ball has to come out. And I told the D-line this and the linebackers this as well. If you're not hitting the quarterback, you're a pass rusher when you're hitting the quarterback. But if you're not getting to the quarterback, you now become a pass defender. All right, so you can alter the pass by the way you get there, putting your hand, matching the hand, certain things, moving the quarterback off the spot. So, yes, rushing coverage goes hand in hand on everything that we do.
What was your initial reaction to the rule change with the hip drop, and just kind of what have the conversations been like with you, the players, the other coaches about how to adjust?
Look, I don't worry about the rule changes, right? It's in everything we do in life, there's rules, and there's consequences and repercussions to the rules. If they change the rules, we adapt. It's the rules of the NFL. We line up and play football.
How much adapting is necessary, I guess, with this?
Well, look, when you look at it, people don't teach the hip drop. Most of the time when a hip drop happened, they was in a certain position. We're still going to do the same thing. We talked about tackling this week. Frank Bush did an outstanding job of presenting tackling. And the first thing, in tackling is a stable tackle. It's a form tackle. It's where you put your head, when you run your feet on contact, right? how violently you roll your hips. And it's other ways to tackle, but we're not going to teach our players to be dirty. Most coaches don't teach their players to be dirty. We're going to continue doing what we're doing, but we will police the hip drop because at the end of the day, we're going to live on the edge, we're going to play on the edge, but we can't hurt the team. And whatever's going to hurt the team, we got to take out of it.
How much time I'm sorry. Go ahead. How much time will you have to spend in camp and all this stuff kind of maybe re-teaching or making sure that everybody gets what's going on with the tackle?
Like I told the guys this, and it's funny is that just talking about it, time does two things to you as a player, as a coach, as a mother, as a father, as a brother. Time either promotes you or exposes you. So the time that we have, there is no excuses, right? You layer concepts, you put it in, you let it stick. And then you have phase one. And then you go to phase two, you do it over again. And then by the time you come to training camp, you do it again. And then when the first game comes, just like Bum Phillips said back in the day, the first we knocked on the door. Then we banged on the door. And then now you got to come kick the door down because you're competing against other people in the conference and you're competing against all the teams in the National Football League. So for us, it's about layering it. It's no excuse for time. And about time the first game come, we'll be ready to play.
You talked about Sebastian being able to play, and can he go as far inside as the nose?
Sebastian can play every position on the line of scrimmage. When you watch him, because I watched him extremely close when he was with the Rams and what he was able to do up and down the line of scrimmage. All right, when he was with the Chargers, he played over the nose. He played the 3, he played the 4, the 5. He can give you some flexibility, just like Jeff, the lineup at end. Like I said, we're going to have multiple packages, and we're going to put him in positions where he can have success.
You talked about this being a passing league now. So how important is what is your philosophy regarding having to be multiple out of nickel and dime packages in order to survive on defense?
Yeah, it's all about matchups, right? So it's a passing game, but it's also about matchups. And, with offensive coordinators, or when they put together a scheme, the first thing is, where's the matchup? Who can I exploit? Motion, how can I create angles? So for me in general, is in terms of the matchups and what we're playing, we'll be just fine with it. Like, we have the guys, we have the talent. If we have the guys to play nickel, we play nickel. If we have the guys to play dime, if the linebackers don't cover as well on tight ends and we want to play matchup ball that way, we'll do it. We'll do whatever's best for the team to win in general.
You talked about enthusiasm and wanting players to be here. How important is that attendance when you don't necessarily have to be here, but you guys have a lot you're having to do right now?
Well, look, the rules are set the way the rules are. You can't force anybody to be here. It's voluntary, right? But when you hear, it's not just about the football, okay? It's not just about the scheme. It's about connecting. It's about creating a brotherhood. Because when you play as one and you gel as one and you trust the person next to you to go do his job and execute, you play better. You don't give up explosive plays. You don't misfit your gaps because you're all on the same page. You think alike. Like, for me, it's about planting a seed, putting the defense out there, and letting these guys make the defense come to life. Because that's when the defense becomes good, is when it's the defensive player's idea, all right, about what they're doing and how
DC
they're doing
Denard
it,
Wilson.
executing at a high clip.
I enjoyed a lot of what I heard. People in the chat were saying, I bet Blaine is eating this up.
Oh, my.
Cause Game said, I know Blaine is loving this.
We were speaking the same language
chat.
here, man. I don't know, man. I felt like these guys got twins, man, like they was coaching me or something. Because that's exactly how our meetings went. Right there. And a little more intensity, too. A little more. I know he's trying to be nice to the media, but
yes.
Yeah, that was real close to, yeah. He's been a lot nicer, though. But, that you could see it, feel it, all of it, man. And, man, it's just, it was just exciting to kind of hear, not just the defensive guys. Naturally, I'm always relate to those guys and just hearing we speaking the same language, but even the offensive guys, just refreshing to hear, just inside behind the closed doors of what they're doing. And really, and I know this word has been used so much, but the collaboration and listening to the coaches and how they come together and making decisions, and ultimately the head coach and the OCs and the DCs have their input, and just exciting to see. And hopefully it comes to fruition, all comes together on the football field sooner or later, especially when they get this draft done and the rest of free agency. So, I was getting chill bumps over here, and it wasn't because it was chilly in here.
It is chilly
And
in here.
that's insane to say that. Just, that was so exciting right there just to listen to that.
Well, there you go. Buck Reising was also listening while he finished up his chicken. We will get his report and his thoughts on this and the upcoming draft and everything else. We'll do all that coming up next right here on Blaine and Mickey. Of course, always powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not. People are really tired of that stuff. So if you've been going to an unreliable vehicle repair shop, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. And at Eurofix, you have your vehicle ready when it's really ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And at Eurofix, they repair all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because the dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of your dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of moolah. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, at Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix. Family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But I always tell them Blaine said ya.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Good stuff from the coordinators. Buck Reising was downing his last few bites of chicken, and he was listening to all that. He was driving in a Two Rivers Ford because he's brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Buck, big takeaways. What'd you think about these coordinators and the head coach talking today?
I didn't hear a word from the coordinators because I was talking to our friends at Hattie B's afterwards, but I did hear a lot from Brian Callahan about Will Levis, about L'Jarius Sneed, about Calvin Ridley, and Josh Wiley, and a need for tight ends. That was my big takeaways. What should I know from the coordinators, boys?
Blaine's ready to suit up right now.
No, they just speak with my language. I felt like they were in our coaching meetings, man. That's exactly how they were talking. Just a little more expected.
That sounds more like Wilson than Holtz. Blaine,
yeah, I'm talking about Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it that was particularly inspiring?
Well, it was the way he was communicating and his thought process. You can't change your stripes, and maybe that was, I guess, him and Greg Williams' connection there. With all the things he said, he was up talking. Let's just say the drop tackle. He was like, "Well, we're not worried about the rule. The rule is the rule, but you just got to find a way to manage through the rule. But we're not teaching people how to tackle like that. Nobody is. So sometimes it just is going to happen in a game, and it's going to happen. Hopefully, nobody gets hurt. So." And just he was just distinct about everything. And then he was talking about, players and development and trusting your teammates and being in gaps and, just being responsible, holding guys accountable. Just, it was just a whole nother level of communication that, to me, that we hadn't had verbally, at least outwardly, to the media where all of us could hear. So that was kind of refreshing, even on the offensive side. They're really taking us behind the scenes, and this is exactly how they're communicating with the players. And until you have that trust, and that's what they're developing now with the actual players. So every time they talked about connection and trust, really, in my words, with the actual players. So then once that happens, then they believe, and then you start coming together and connecting as one on offense and defense. And when that starts happening, then you have something special, regardless of the talent that you have. It's not about individual talents and schemes. This is trying to put guys in the best positions that they are comfortable in, that they can make plays, whether it's offense or defense. And that's really what it's all about. And the rest will just fall into place. And hopefully, you play your best on Sunday and give your best. So, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of verbiage that needs to be done with the players and then communicated back to us from the media. So I just thought it was very refreshing. And Callahan, too, no doubt.
Well, because refreshing is the word, because I saw some comments in the Zone TV chat while we were carrying Callahan during our show that said, isn't it nice to have a head coach that doesn't look like he immediately wants to punch everybody in the face as soon as he gets up to the podium.
I'm not going to say that.
And that's all, it's true. Listen, Mike looked like he wanted to punch each and every one of us in the face, and probably did for, depending on the day, who pissed him off the most. And, we haven't there's no reason to be contentious with Callahan.
Right.
At this point, he hasn't done anything that would earn any media ire, anything that deserves tough questions or anything like that. And so it's all happy-go-lucky until such time as they hit a little bit of adversity for the first time under the staff. But that just to not – Blaine, I felt like Vrabel made it so much harder on himself and on the players and on people that worked for him and that would have to answer questions by keeping stuff so tight to the vest, and not just because he was a big fan of the various vests that they would give him to wear, the team-issued vests. I think
and then they kept saying the word play freely. And that's exactly how I've been communicating throughout the whole time, man. They're making guys play tight. You can't play freely. You're scared you're going to make a mistake.
Well, that's the thing. And you and I and Mickey have talked about this on your guys' show, on my show, on the pregame show that we do before every game. They can't live in fear this way. And there was definitely, whether it's fear, whether it's anxiety, however you want to categorize the emotion of tightness, of feeling that level of pressure that if I make a bad play, a single bad play, there's a chance that I could get pulled.
Yeah.
This in a game, that's not an environment that is conducive to just a general happy working environment. And it's already so tough to make these guys, or to get not make these guys, you can't make them trust you, but to get these guys to trust you because of how cold this business is from start to finish, no matter what level you're at. And it's just how soon does the cold business element of the NFL hit you in the face? Are you Baker Mayfield, who goes a couple of years with a level of stability before, he has to experience all this? Or are you Bryce Young, where your first NFL head coach gets fired mid-season and there's a Game of Thrones element to your staff as to who's going to take over after Frank Reich gets fired? It's a mess in a lot of different clubs in the league, and as much as you can do to make the players comfortable, to make them actually want to play for you, it's easier said than done, certainly, when they understand that this is just as much a business as the rest of us do.
Buck Reising, our guest, you both kind of went down the strain of how much more open these guys are. At least they have been the first few times we've heard them speak. And I think about when Traylon Burks got to the team and we just kept saying, what's wrong? And nobody would tell us. And then we all went and gathered around Rob Moore. Do you remember this, Buck? And he goes, well, it's just a shame the kid's got asthma. Well, he actually said it out loud.
Just say it. Wow.
And everybody gasped when he said it. Like, he just said, what's wrong with Traylon Burks? This is amazing.
Well, but Mickey, like you guys laugh, but I bet Rob Moore got his ass chewed after that. I 100% guarantee that is what happened, because that was the way that the previous administration chose to operate, and I'm sure they had their reasons, and I'm sure Mike is a little bit probably jaded after dealing with Boston media for the bulk of his NFL career, which is a completely different environment. But it doesn't need to be this hard on anybody. Much less, do you want people talking about Traylon Burks and his physical appearance, making speculations about, well, is it his weight? Is he just fat? Whatever the case may be. But we laugh. But people were doing this kind of stuff when it's just the most natural thing in the world to be like, yeah, the kid has asthma. He's working through it. There's a different set of allergens in the state of Tennessee than there is in Arkansas. It's just going to take him a minute to get acclimated, and he's working really, really hard to get it done. That's all that needed to be said, instead of weeks of us trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with Traylon Burks.
Again, interesting start for these guys. Very, very open about everything. So you mentioned about getting to hear everything that Callahan said. He got asked about free agency and filling needs. He said, the thing about free agency is you feel your needs there, so then you are open and free, that's a quote, to take the best available players in the draft. Does that tell you that if they really like an edge rusher instead of Alt at 7, or if Odunze's there, Neighbors, they may just saddle up and take him if he's the best available on their board?
And they should. I mean, they should. We I think as a media, just media generally, not specific to Titans media, but as a draft consuming public, whether it's fans, media, or otherwise, we get so caught up in drafting for immediate need when that's not how these teams look at it almost at all. Rand got a lot of heat last year, if you guys remember, around in the draft process when he came out of the first round or came out of day 2 rather, and gave us the line about rolling the dice and playing the board when they hadn't taken a wide receiver, when they took Tajay Spears in the 3rd round and this, that, and the other. And people bristled at that idea because it felt almost too casual, because everybody in the world knew that the Titans needed a wide receiver. They waited until the 7th round to take Colton Dow. It's a much different science for these guys and how they stack their draft board, how often they're resetting their draft board, how much new information influences that, and then the reality of all of it goes to hell as soon as the picks start rolling off the board on Thursday night, and you have to immediately implement Plan F because Plan A, B, C, D, E, and everything else have just went up in smoke with however, say Jim Harbaugh takes Joe Alt with the 5th pick, which is just the most Jim Harbaugh thing ever when everybody knows that the Chargers need a wide receiver. It's a really complicated thing, and I think that Brian Callahan is absolutely correct in answering that question that way. The expectation should still be for an offensive line, but I don't think people should be outright shocked if this goes a little bit differently, or maybe a lot differently than the way that we've spent talking about this for 6 months.
And talking about it today on Wednesday instead of the normal Thursday visit for Buck Reising, he joins us, as always, courtesy of the good folks at Two Rivers Ford.
And to add to that, that was right on point there, Buck, about drafting, but also the strength of the draft. And where if you could pass on, even if it's the number 2 player at that position, you can get a probably just almost quite the same player in the second round because they're deeper with that position. So it's also about every year the draft is strong and weak in certain areas based off of what your roster and your strength is too as well. I think that's a missing piece that everybody has to keep in that, because guess what? If Alt's not there, do you go then, as Mickey said, neighbors, or do you go the number 2 rated, offensive tackle, or do you go edge? So, edge, that's you may get the number 1 edge guy in this draft where you don't get the number 1 tackle if Alt's gone. So you have to look at all these different scenarios, and it's a tough decision. It's always hard to make those decisions, but it's critical, and that's what you get paid the big bucks for. So my question is, who you taking at 7 if Alt is gone? Buck Reising, the GM.
It's a good question. Can trade back be an answer, or do I have to stick and pick? I'm fine with either. Just let me know.
Oh, okay, yeah, we sticking and picking. Now, I didn't even tell you who was taken, but besides Alt, I mean, he's gone. So what are you doing? Because that's where I get conflicted, and I go, ooh.
Right. Depending on who's on the board, let's just assume that Neighbors is still there at 7. Let's assume that Odunze is there at 7. Bowers. And depending on who you think is the top, we'll call it Dallas Turner, just because he is more thought of as the top edge guy, even though, I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think that Jared Verse may be the best guy if you're looking for somebody to – anyway, I'm going to get bogged down if I get too far down this road. Either way, I think that the wide receiver still makes the most sense. I really like Odunze. Depending on how they look at their board, Neighbors may be the better fit for them based on the skill set that they have. But I think that either of those wide receivers are going, provided that they get put in positions to succeed, because we know how important geography is to all of this stuff, I would be completely comfortable with them taking either Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, or Rome Odunze. I specifically, guys prefer Odunze just as a more complete player, though I do understand that Neighbors may have the highest ceiling of any of the top 3 guys at the position that we're talking about.
What do you think about, we're in the seasons of the draft and everybody trying to posture, and you can give it the term line or making up stuff, or you don't know if it's true or not, but when it's bad info coming out now, all of a sudden, using Neighbors as an example about, his character, or he's got a posse, or whatever it may be. How do you view that, and then how do you then take that and make an opinion about, we should or shouldn't take a player?
For me, Blaine, personally, it's evolved a lot because I used to take at the start of my career, I used to take that stuff way too much as gospel, right? And now that I'm further along and I've had the experience and certainly working around both current and former professional athletes who have been through this to kind of understand their perspective on it. Unless it is glaring and you're getting like specific examples and not just, he's got some character red flags that I've heard tossed out about Neighbors here in just the last week, where the hell was that for the past, 3 years of his college career? Red flag without specific examples. If you cannot give me specific examples that I can then verify, it doesn't mean anything to me. I can't put too much stock in it. And, the teams will have way better access to information than I do. They'll have way better ability to research, to do background checks, to, find out about guys' families, about their friends and stuff like that. But I think it's rampant misinformation at this time of year. I think it does the players irreparable harm, where they're just, they're blameless victims in the middle of all this. They're just trying to achieve their life's goal. And if you do something dumb like Tavondre Sweat, where you roll a car over and you've been under the influence of something, then I'm going to take that into account because there's a police report, there's an accident report, there is something verifiable that we can all actually look at and say, hey, idiot, what are you doing 3 weeks before the draft, driving under the influence and also flipping a car? It's so reckless to me, Blaine, and I didn't always look at it that way, but with just having perspective at this point, having been through a couple of these cycles, I'm just so slow to kind of react to any BS.
Well, I think there's some responsibility on the media side too to get second and third verification of that's true, to even put it out there. Because what happens is someone's posturing to move up to get that guy. Actually.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It's the same thing as free agency. I remember talking to you about this, where I got some info about, I think it was Jonnu Smith's knee when he was getting ready to
be a free agent.
And every athlete has something that they're trying to manage or work through, or whatever the case may be. It's a violent sport, but it was given to me as oh, this might really hurt his market value. When in reality, it's just somebody trying to keep the price down to make sure that it doesn't get too expensive to bid on Jonnu Smith. And I went too quickly with it. And it's a small thing, but it's something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my career because I screwed that up. So I think that the media environment has lent itself to being this kind of reckless. There are no repercussions really for people who are reckless with the information, if it is even considered information as opposed to just rumor mill stuff, because those things used to be different and they're just not anymore.
Buck Reising, fantastic stuff. We appreciate you checking in with us. People can follow Buck at Buck Reising, and they can listen to the Buck Reising Show, and they can listen to the install, and then you got the live install coming up. So let's let people know how they can check that out.
May 3rd, if you want to be in the house for the most comprehensive Titans offseason, draft, free agency, trade, whatever the case may be, because they've done it all this offseason, and Greg Cosell with you to break it all down and take your questions in a 3-hour live podcast that comes with a full bar. I can't sell it any better than a live podcast that comes with a full bar. Go to 1045thezone.com right now. Get your tickets. We have sold over 100 tickets. I'm running out of tickets to sell you guys because they're only $25 to get in the door. But make sure you do it before it's too late because we are less than a month away from the event.
Sure are. Drive safe back from Hattie B's, Buck, and we'll talk again soon.
I appreciate it, boys. Thanks for working with my schedule this week.
Oh, always appreciate you working with us. The one and only Buck Reising. All right, when we come back, talking about character issues, what did Callahan say about that? And then he got asked about a position group, really interesting, right after that he said you can't have enough of those guys. Interesting stuff, maybe a coincidence, but I'll tell you what I caught there when we come back. Also, curious to get your thoughts. A lot of people in the F&M Bank chat checking in with their thoughts about what they heard. Phone lines open, 615-737-1045. We'll get you on the program.
Allergy season is upon us, and pollen is in the air. But fear not, Cool Ray has your back. And the $49 tune-up will have your HVAC system running smoothly, keeping allergens at bay. Plus, enjoy 10% off indoor air quality products for an extra boost. So are you ready to say goodbye to your old HVAC system? Well, with Cool Ray, it's out with the old and in with the new, and we'll even give you $1,000 off your old system when you upgrade with us. That's right. We'll pay you to breathe easier. And with Tennessee's unpredictable weather, it's crucial to be prepared. That's where our whole home generators come in. With $1,500 off, you can keep your whole home generator powered up, rain or shine. So don't let Mother Nature catch you off guard. Let Cool Ray be a beacon of reliability. So Tennessee, are you ready to embrace spring with confidence? Give Cool Ray a call today and let us make this season a breeze. We're your partner in comfort, no matter the season. So here's to a spring filled with sunshine, smiles, and stress-free living. Cool Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and lights bright. So visit coolray.com and take control of your home's comfort. That's coolray.com.
Blaine and Mickey, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. It's, what day is it? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. The coordinator spoke and the head coach. It is hump day.
Yeah, it's your favorite day.
I'm more of a Friday guy, but I enjoy hump day as well. Once you get to the middle of the show, though.
The nexus of the.
It's the nexus of the sports talk universe because
I learned all that now, and then it's not.
It's like after that, you're looking downhill. It's like when you're on a roller coaster and you're.
Kick. Oh, man.
Then when we get to the second hour of our show, you start to go.
You love roller coasters?
I used to, but I got vertigo really bad now. Seriously.
No.
I could ride anything.
No, me. I with anything that spins around,
I can't do
that. But I can go down a roller coaster as long as it just goes straight down.
But even the curves and stuff?
Yeah, I think I'm okay, but I can't do anything that's spinning around. Yeah. Like, spinning around,
I lost it all.
I think it's just not good for me.
Hey, boy.
I'll be coming here acting like I'm on drugs like me.
Sudafed Mickey. You can Google that, kids. Okay. Callahan spoke, Nick Holtz, as well as Denard Wilson, and they had Tavondre Sweat in on Monday, and he got a DUI on Sunday. Then, you still have your visit scheduled, so he bonded out, or whatever you do when you get out of something, you move on your way.
Yeah, you bond out.
You bond out.
$3,000 bond.
So he bonded out, and
that's what it is.
Then he came here, and then he had visits. He's got other visits. And Callahan got asked about character issue. Guys, I don't remember what the exact question was, but he talked a long time then. I wrote this in my notes. Callahan talked a lot about researching character issues to find out how real they are. Is this a one-time incident? Is this...
Right, you got to go look at the history there. I don't know if I would hold it against the Sweat kid here, but I know it was a ding-dongery and everybody's been there. But has he done a whole bunch of this along the way?
A lot of people have talked about that guy, a lot. And no one has ever said, but there's all those character issues. I've never heard anything about him and character issues. Until all this happened.
Oh, I heard character issues about guys that ain't even saying nothing about character issues.
Was he one of those guys?
No.
Okay. So he had what he had. It was very publicly profiled. Then he got asked literally about the guys on the defensive front. He said, man, everything starts on defense up front. I mean, we need more guys. We're going to have to go get more guys. We can't have enough of those guys. And you have to wonder, Tavondre Sweat, everybody was talking about him as that big space-eating guy in the middle playing a certain role for a defense. What if they talked to him and he's like, it was a one-time thing. Here's what happened. I was with this guy. What if he explains things satisfactorily? They may think.
Well, we must not forget Big Jeff had an incident.
Yep.
Right. And they rolled the dice because he had no other incidents.
Nothing else
up to that point. So, people must not forget, we all make mistakes. So if it's one, now if it's two, I don't know, man. We're going to have some, 2 and 3 people vouch for you. And I'm talking about like coaches, he's a solid character guy. I got to talk to some people, unless your talent exceeds what we see what happened here. So
weren't the Titans didn't some national media members go after the Titans for drafting Big Jeff because of that, because of his ACL?
I think I'm pretty sure it was.
There was talk about
we definitely wasn't one of them because it was only a one-time
I'm
deal.
talking about the national.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
and then we had him on the radio and asked him all the questions.
Yeah, we did.
And the way he explained things, he explained it when he got drafted. Then he came on this radio station, probably on every show, and explained it again. He had his post-draft presser. He explained it all. And at that point, I said, nobody needs to ask him about this again.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied with everything that he explained about it.
Yeah, and he's been clean as a whistle.
Gosh.
So, you just never know. Sometimes you can get guys as clean as a whistle, and then once they get in the league and start making a whole bunch of money, and then they lose their, ever-living mind. There are players like that. So you're rolling a crapshoot, really, whether you had incidents or not. So you got to really do your due diligence and sit down and have thorough conversations. Naturally, when you talk to Big Jeff and all those things happened, he was very sympathetic and he was apologetic. You could tell it hurt him and it pained him that the whole incident happened. And this is after he got drafted. He didn't have to be that way.
No,
it was over. So you got to have a feel and you got to be able to read people. That's what's part of being a coach and finding out, what's real and what's not. Some people are good at reading people and players, and some people not so much. They just look at the surface like stats. Right? I don't mean he's a great player just because he had great stats. He may not be quite as good as his stats. And does that translate to the next level? So there's a lot of different scenarios. Until you sit down and meet with guys personally, you don't really know. I have no idea. I haven't met with any of these guys. So I don't know. And when I'm talking to people and they're telling me certain things about guys, man, it is kind of crazy what I'm hearing. And this is kind of the most I've heard. And I think a lot of it has to do with the NIL stuff and just how you're hearing all these guys, buying craziness and just having all these people around them and, even sometimes family members.
Oh, sure.
So I just, man, I didn't have to deal with any of that. I really didn't. I think my family, who supported me all the way my whole entire life since I played football since 6, they were just happy to say, man, I achieved something that I had set my goal for, and they were just happy as a lark that I had got to achieve something that nobody could ever thought that I would, and nothing changed. Everything that I did for my family was all the kindness of my heart, really. And nobody ever really asked me for anything. So I couldn't even, and if somebody would have, I would have told them, I would have had the cojones to say, no, I'm not doing that. Even my mother. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Here's what we are doing. We're going to have hour number 2 of the show. Jordan Dajani is going to join us. Ned Michaels is going to join us for a quick Masters preview a day before the tournament starts. They're doing the par 3 tournament now. Oh, my gosh. It looks glorious there.
Y'all see the hole-in-one?
I did not see it.
There was a hole-in-one in the par 3 contest.
Somebody hits one. Usually there's one, if not 2 of those. It just shows you how freaking
You got
good
the
those
call?
people are.
I can get it. I can get the video up.
Since we didn't see it.
So we'll get that. We'll get to this. Brian Callahan, he went on for 35 or 6 or 7 minutes.
About 35 minutes.
Today, and he said some interesting stuff about the quarterback. Well, yeah, that's it. He said some real interesting stuff about Will Levis. What's he saying about the second-year Titans quarterback? Interesting stuff. I want you to hear that when we come back. We'll play that for you. We'll take your calls, too, 615-737-1045 if you want to check in about what you heard. It's Blaine and Mickey. It is Wednesday, and we are powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Can't wait.
All right. Man, what a magical time of year this is. It's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL. It's right around the corner. And then baseball has started right now. And you got all sorts of other sports going on. And FanDuel is the place to bet on every game of everything. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose to bet on everything from slap shots to slam dunks or home runs, all on an app that's safe and it's secure and it's easy to use. So what are you waiting for? You can visit FanDuel.com/Mickey and make your first bet an automatic win. Again, that's FanDuel.com/ just like the mouse, MICKEY. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. You do have to be 21 and up, though. Present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you've got a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. It is 2:02. I'm Joseph Bonanno. Breaking news out of the AFC South this morning. The Jacksonville Jaguars have given star pass rusher Josh Allen a 5-year, $150 million extension and includes $88 million in guarantees. Allen was franchise tagged by Jacksonville before landing the big payday. Today, the Tennessee Titans coaching staff spoke to the media as Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, and defensive coordinator Denard Wilson shared updates on the first week of offseason workouts and free agency. Callahan explained how he feels with the Titans' current position in the draft after a busy free agency for the Titans.
I do. I feel really good about where we're at. I feel like there's going to be opportunities to draft some good players. You don't control what happens in front of you. And so as these picks go off, it allows you to be a little more flexible in your approach, and whatever that pick may be, we can find that best player for us in the process. So I do feel like the free agency has opened our ability to be more open-minded in the draft.
Defensive coordinator Denard Wilson was asked about the balance between focusing on rushing the quarterback and covering with your DBs and with the wide receivers as the Titans' defensive philosophy, and this is what he had to say about that.
When you have guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key and Weave and all these guys up front, when they can beat their one-on-ones, now the ball has to come out. So, yes, rushing coverage goes hand in hand on everything that we do.
For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Let's get it rolling. Second hour of this 2-hour extravaganza, powered as always. All Four Seasons Garage Doors. You missed anything, you can catch it where you catch your favorite podcast. Rate, review, subscribe to Blaine and Mickey. Masters Part 3 is going on, dudes. Are we up to 3 hole-in-ones? Is that right, Bananas?
Yeah, 3 hole-in-ones in the Par 3 contest. Luke List, who's actually from Augusta, he hit the first one of the day. The second one was from a very cool story at the Masters, as Gary Woodland, who I don't know if you guys remember, had the brain surgery.
That's a heck of a storyline.
Yeah, and so he hit a hole-in-one.
There was his on TV right as you were describing it.
And then the third one came from someone who actually hit one last year, as Step Straka hits a hole-in-one during the Par 3 contest. That's second year in a row for him.
I'm I ask you a question. How many of these has anybody hit the hole-in-one and then won it? The Masters?
No one has ever won the Par 3 tournament and won the Masters. Yeah. No one. Which is astounding to me.
Why would you want to compete in the Par 3 contest? You want to go win the big thing.
I would just go compete and just knock it in the water a bunch and call it a day and then try to win the big deal.
Didn't win it. Let's go win the Masters.
This is. Let me ask you guys this. We'll go off script here for a second, and then we'll hear what the head coach said about Levis. Yeah, I know, okay. I'm just saying that for like people can picture it in their mind.
Bananas keep trying to tell us to stay on script, man.
We're super organized, guys.
100%. Where is this on you guys' bucket list? Because you've had a chance to go a couple times.
I know. I'm so mad at myself. I'm gonna go. I got to do it. Man. I just wow. I was afraid that they would be like, hey, you can't be talking on your phone.
Yeah, you can't even carry it in there.
That's what I'm afraid that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, my wife called me, man. I got to answer. We don't care about your wife. Well, I do.
They're like, hey, man, you just got to sit out here outside the gate.
I don't know, Bananas. You got it on your bucket list?
I think it would be really cool. I'm not a huge golf guy, but I think, like, the Masters, if there was a golf event I was going to go to, the Masters is definitely number one. In terms of, like, on my bucket list, I would definitely put it behind a World Series game, like specifically a Braves World Series game, which I didn't get a chance to go to 2021.
Oh, I think he's been one of those.
Been to a playoff game, but not a World Series.
Oh, I want to go to like a World Series game. But I think the Masters would be cool. I would just want to go for all the extra stuff, not the actual like event, but like all the stuff they had on the side for the fans. like the pro shops where you can get all the gear. And
I want to eat all the
pimento
food.
cheese.
Yeah. The ice cream sandwiches, even though I'm mildly lactose intolerant now.
Take us to
Trying
that
to
fried
give up
chicken?
sugar. Do what?
They got fried chicken.
Well, you can have whatever you want at the Champions Dinner, which none of us will ever get to go to because
They
we'll
got
never
chicken
be
and waffles.
a Masters champion.
I just want to put on a green jacket.
Oh,
Just
I don't know about that one, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
And then Michael's going to join us. I was reading about this. They made like some slight changes to the course that the players would recognize, like this green's bigger, this part of the green is softer, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But you can see a highlight of in black and white of, Arnold Palmer playing. He's playing the same hole that we can see these guys play this week. The fact that it essentially never changes. I mean, they tiger-proofed the course. And they do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everything looks the same. So the Masters is
beautiful.
To me, that's a bucket list thing. And I'll tell you, this is the weirdest one. Everybody laughs at me. I want to go to the Rose Bowl so bad. I want to go to the Rose Bowl.
I feel like that would be fun.
I want to go to the Rose Bowl really bad.
Do you just want to sit in the stands or on the sideline? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Just wanna
matter.
say you-
I want to just be
Because we
there.
watched that. It was kind of like the biggest thing when we were growing up, no doubt.
It's hard
No
to
doubt.
describe to people how big the Rose Bowl was.
It was.
For people.
I used to be like, wow, man, that is so
the
cool.
sun setting behind the San Gabriel Mountains and Keith Jackson. Oh man,
Jackson.
I have goosebumps
Calling
all
the
over me
games.
just talking about this. Now, God rest his soul, there's no more Keith Jackson. But I want to
love
go
you, man.
to the Rose Bowl so bad. I want to go to the parade in the
You're
morning.
making me want to go now.
I want to go to the parade in the morning because all the floats are made out of flowers. Everything on it is alive. Everything is made out of
when
something.
Utah was playing. Didn't Utah play somebody?
Yes,
and
they
Embry was on
had
the
they
sideline.
had
My
the cool
former team was on the
Dice,
sideline.
yes.
You remember they had
Dice
the cool
went to-
sticker helmets?
No, Dice, I think, he had just gone to Los Angeles, remember?
Yeah, and he didn't. It was back-to-back weeks.
Because that's when we were all still together.
Yeah.
In the post-game show.
Yeah. Embry went, though. He was there. He was the athletic. Yeah, he was athletic.
Man.
Remember Utah when
know.
they went?
I know.
When they go? The last time they went, they updated their helmets
With
and put
the rose on the helmet.
through it. Oh, it looked so good. Through their logo. Oh, it looked so cool.
Dude, they had a special logo made just for that bowl game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Dang. Yeah. I was cool with a whole bunch of USC guys back in the day. Curtis Conway.
I know.
People, bananas.
You got to get the hookup from those guys.
Right, Travis Hanna. Yeah, not Reggie Bush.
This is the Blaine and Mickey show bucket list.
There you go.
Take a trip to the Rose Bowl.
All right, we got to do this, though, because we
gotta
teased
do
it.
Someone has some tickets, man. And next year, give us a call, man.
Yeah.
Tell Bananas we'll make sure we get your info, man. We
Yeah,
got
100%.
to go on your private jet.
Rose Bowl of Masters. That's all we're asking here. All right. Will Levis never played in the Rose Bowl or the Masters, but he did get a really nice review today from his head coach. Let's check out Callahan on Levis.
What I've seen so far, and again, I'm still learning Will every day that goes on. But he's got an intensity and an intent to every time he walks in the building. I think you see that in his play. When you watch him play, you see that intensity, that fire that he's got. That's not manufactured. That's how he is. He's got a way about him that is driven. I think he wants to be a great player, and he puts the requisite work in. That part's been fun to see. Just as you see him in the offseason, he went out to California to work with some people. He's very determined to improve his game, and I think that part, you have that part, you got a chance to do a lot of really cool things. But I've seen that from him in this early portion. He is front and center. He takes notes. He asks questions. He does all the things you'd want to see early in the process of a guy that's trying to improve his game and get better.
Talking about the QB.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you can definitely see that. He's driven. I mean, all those things, even when he plays. Sometimes I feel like he needs to taper it down
Take a
little
deep
bit.
breath.
Yeah. And, and it's hard to do because I get it. He's trying to be the best version of himself. But in the NFL, I think he has to figure out how to model that and tame it a little bit. Now, any other position, I'm gung-ho all day long. All day long. I just think you got to taper it a little bit when you're the quarterback. And because you need, first of all the energy, and you want to be the calming force, with the team, not the let me get you fired up guys. That was for McNair and Eddie George and myself. But McNair would sit back and be like, nah, we got this.
Right.
It was
Calm
that.
as cold as ice.
Yeah, cold as ice. So, so I get it. That's part of his DNA, and that's okay because you want him to have some part of that, but he has to learn how to control it. And I think when you're saying this is being really picky, and it's a great trait, but it can also play against you because you could want something so bad you force it to happen, and that's even in his play. So and it's all cool. He's still a young buck and he's getting into the league, but he wants it bad, and hey, I'm all for it, man. I like watching. I just don't want him to get injured trying to do something. Remember the time he just jumped over somebody? I'm like, whoa, hey,
don't do
that.
Yeah,
don't do that. That's not the goal line. It was like in the middle of the field. I'm like, no.
Were there any quarterbacks that you played with or against that when they were, I guess,
that
younger in their career that were like that, where they were super amped up? And did
Cody
they ever,
Carlson.
Did they ever cool down?
I'm just throwing names.
No guys that I ever played with or against. No, I mean, we're talking about McNabb, Michael Vick. O'Donnell. I'm just saying, even guys I played against, quarterbacks, even the great ones, Joe Montana, Steve Young, you can go down the list, Dan Marino. Now, Dan Marino and Elway were loud, especially when I was a young guy. So that's what I'm talking about. I want the guy to control everything with his voice inflection and everything else, and you felt like, dang, man, I could hear you in the 10th row up there. That. But other than that... No, I haven't played against a quarterback that has fire like that on every play like that. Like he's a linebacker. That's kind of how I view it. So it's a great trait, but he has to learn how to taper it and be more calming force. And I get it. He's still young. He's still growing. And he's only started, 6-7 games. Mm-hmm. So it'll come with experience. And it takes a lot of energy to do that too, by the way. Take away from the energy from the player. That was more something like defensive-minded players would do, or myself, or it's his fire because he's trying to prove that. First of all, he's still driven to. He should have went in the first round. He's pissed off for greatness. I get it. So everything is about when he's a grinder. He puts in the work. You could tell. You look at his body. He puts in the work. Well, most quarterbacks don't look like that. So maybe we can set less on the weights and more on, hey, make you going through my progression reads. That's what I'm saying. Just taper it in a different direction, and he'll be fine. I think like them. I think he has a great shot of being a really good quarterback in this league. But let's don't ruin it trying to be, a linebacker playing quarterback. Even Peyton Manning was loud, and Aaron Rodgers. You don't see these. They're intense, but like you're pumping your fist like this with your own joy, like yes. Mm-hmm. Like that's not Will Levis is not doing that. He is going beyond that at times. At times he does do the yes. Mm-hmm. When he unleashes on the sideline. I remember when he unleashed and got pissed off. Excited when he got a touchdown with the Dolphins. But here's another example: the Dolphins game. Remember when he tried to tackle the freaking guy who what did he cover a fumble or was it an interception against the Dolphins right there, and the guy scored.
Oh yeah, and
he tried to no. Yeah. You had no shit. The guy was right there.
Yeah.
Save your body. See, that is being a smart quarterback. Don't do that. It's over. I know you made a bad. Okay, that's okay. We'll get it back, and he got him back, and he won. Well, he came up short. Yeah.
Not against the Dolphins.
No, he won.
They did win that one. Well, that was
he drove down. Yeah.
High water mark of the year besides the final run.
In the Falcons game, his first start.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he had 3 nice ones. All right, here's what we got. Jordan Dajani coming up next. Let's get out of here and get to him, and we'll talk all things NFL coming up next with our man from CBS. You can do this. You can bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, and you can do it every Thursday with TNT Thursdays. TNT Thursdays are the best with the crew, right? Look, and it doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you've already got an account. You're going to get bonus bets back if your same-game parlay doesn't win on any NBA on TNT game. Those NBA same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine bets for your chance to score an even bigger payday, like Knicks Celtics tonight. Going to be a fun one, right? Man, give me a big night from Jason Tatum in the scorebook and cleaning the boards, too. How about that? And I'll take the Celtics to win. However you want to play it, they'll play it. Just head to FanDuel.com/Mickey and bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay with TNT Thursdays. Again, FanDuel.com/Mickey to make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Do you have to be 21 or older, present in Tennessee? Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Below MSRP? Below MSRP. Below MSRP. It's pretty simple. Two Rivers Ford sells all new non-specialty Fords below MSRP.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Come on and listen to this show, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Come on and listen to Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, making his regular appearance with us on Wednesday. JD, how in the world are you doing? Thanks for the time today.
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me on the show. Hope you guys survived the eclipse. Mickey, I hope you're surviving your sickness. It almost feels like football's kind of back with the head coach and the coordinators taking the podium today. It was really fun to listen what they had to say about our new look Tennessee Titans.
I'm surprised that they even talked about the draft at all, because I don't know if people know this. JD has already – did you hand him the document? He did the Titans 7th-round draft. Jordan did. Did you just mail that over to him or fax it? How'd you send it over? I mean, they can just go on to other stuff now.
I tried to fax it to Titans Drive, make sure they take a good look at it, because I thought I put together a nice little product. Looking at all 7 rounds, yeah. I mean, at number 7 overall, I had Joe Alt going, of course, but we can dive more into that mock if you guys want to. But I thought they had some good comments about the draft. I mean, you're not exactly drafting for position. It really comes down to value when you're looking at your draft board, no matter what round you're in. So, people are looking across the board what Tennessee needs to fill on the defensive side. It's not like the Titans are going to draft at every position necessary, whether that's on the defensive interior, linebacker, or safety. Now, will they hit on a couple of spots? Absolutely. But even coming out of the draft, there's that second wave or third wave, fourth wave, whatever you want to call it, of free agency. And the Titans brass has talked about that a couple times, that there's some players out there on the market that they may have some interest in.
Well, you did do the Blaine thing, though. It's like, take players from the best conference. In JD's
is that what he did?
7th-round mock, there was some SEC stuff in that rascal.
Oh, I'm sure it was others, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were. And I'll touch on a couple of prospects that I did have coming out of the SEC, especially in the 7th round.
Yes.
There was one guy, Nathaniel Watson, a linebacker out of Mississippi State, that I'm kind of high on. Now, he's not your prototypical middle linebacker, Brian Urlacher guy, but he's someone who was highly productive. And, when I'm looking at some of these 7-round mock drafts, I'm seeing him go later and later, it seems like. But, he doesn't have the measurements that you necessarily want. But, again, he was incredibly productive, leading the SEC in tackles and sacks this past season, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. You're telling me that guy's going to go in day 3? And again, I think his athletic ability, makes him that kind of dynamic chess piece that a fun defensive coordinator like we think Denard Wilson is could potentially use. So Nathaniel Watson is someone that I'm kind of interested in as I continue to look at some of these big mock drafts from different companies.
What's his measurements? Do you know off the cuff?
I'm looking at a 6'2", 245.
Yeah. Hey,
solid.
Hey, when I started reading the stuff you wrote about him and all the things you wrote, you know who I thought about? David Long.
Oh, there you go. Exactly right.
Smallish guy, super productive. He was
player of the year.
He was player of the year
in the best conference.
Yeah.
So could play.
So there you go. Hey, people need to check this out. It's all at CBSSports.com. All of JD's stuff and his counterparts, and he joins us now to talk about all that and more on Blaine and Mickey.
Hey, JD, I'm interested in hearing. Did you have the Titans trading back, or it was just stick and stay with all their picks that they have?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I was definitely offered several trade packages when I was doing this hypothetical mock drafts from the computers. But, since a guy like Joe Alt was available at 7, that was kind of the main position I was looking at potentially trading back at. I did not do that. And from there on, I kind of wanted to just stick and draft. I was definitely interested in trying to see if I could pick up a 3rd-round pick. But I knew that, day 3, there was going to be some players that I thought could fit some needs for the Titans. So it's funny. I'm sounding like a general manager right now. But I did not do any kind of trades with draft picks.
All right. One more teaser for us. Who did they get in the 4th round, which really hopefully turns into their 3rd-round pick? And when I say that, I'm talking about they have to have that kind of impact, maybe an immediate player playing at least a lot.
Right. I agree. And, the wide receiver position, I think we all understand, is one that's going to be addressed in the draft. Now, the Titans have done a tremendous job when it comes to beefing that up with the addition of Calvin Ridley. But with this new look offense, with an offensive-minded head coach, you have to imagine that they're going to draft a young weapon that they can develop and serve as a legitimate pillar on their offense, either moving forward or in the future. So I got Brendan Rice, the wide receiver out of USC, the son of Jerry Rice. And there was a couple of reasons why I like this prospect. For one, I think he has ideal size for an outside wideout. But the main reason I really like this guy is because he scores touchdowns. And if you go back and listen to Brian Callahan talk at the NFL Combine, he's looking for guys who can get paid there. He's looking for guys who have a nose for the end zone. And that's a legitimate factor and a legitimate quality that these front offices try to look for. This guy had, I don't know if I have he had 12 touchdowns last year. He was a productive player. So I think that he's someone who could potentially fit Tennessee's scheme. And I got him in the 4th round.
Oh, wow. Man, Jerry Rice is up. Oh, man, what kind of pressure with that? 4th round. Jerry Rice. We're on with Jordan Dajani, info writer for CBS Sports now. Let's get to business in the NFL, and that is, how about them Cowboys? I mean, man, what are they going to do with Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott? What are we going to do with all these contracts that are up or going to be up in a year? Are we gonna? Something's got to break here. If not, some guys are going to hold out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And it's kind of been an interesting storyline looking at CeeDee Lamb. Is he going to hold out or not hold out? Given his resume and how productive he's been, undoubtedly one of the best players in the NFL. I think it's very possible that he could potentially hold out. And you raised a really good question. What are the Cowboys going to do with all these important players that they have to pay? And they made a decision, or I don't know if they've made a decision, but they haven't done anything with the Dak Prescott contract just yet. And it seems like they've been, going through free agency, keeping an eye on that situation because they haven't had the financial resources to go out there and be aggressive. I still think that they've only brought in one outside free agent that I can remember off the top of my head in Eric Kendricks. But with the Cowboys, who are you going to prioritize if you had to pick one? Is that CeeDee Lamb or is it Micah Parsons? Because how flexible are you going to be if you can't get both of those players? And here's the interesting caveat that we're not necessarily talking about. After the NFL draft, I think there's going to be a boom when it comes to the wide receiver market in the NFL. There are several big-name players that are looking for extensions, such as Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we could see a potential scenario like the Kansas City Chiefs ran across a couple of years ago where they ended up just trading Tyreek Hill because they didn't think the price was worth it and just trying to get draft capital. Now, obviously, if you're making that decision to trade a top premier player, you want to do it before the draft so you can spend those picks. But we still might find ourselves in that kind of scenario where a franchise has to make a really tough decision. So it's always really good to be first. So if the Cowboys want to keep CeeDee Lamb, that's something that they really got to get to work on now.
Who, I guess you brought up receivers. I guess which receiver do you think that's on a roster potentially could get traded on draft day?
T. Higgins is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on for sure. I mean, he's received the franchise tag with Cincinnati. I just really wonder if he's in the long-term plans with the Bengals. We know that he's a premier receiver, a legitimate outside threat, but he's someone who can fetch some attractive draft capital, and you can draft his replacement in the draft. So T. Higgins is someone I'm keeping an eye on. Brandon Ayuk is still an interesting piece to me because I really do think that he's in the 49ers' long-term plans, and he certainly have been vocal about wanting that extension sooner rather than later. But the 49ers have come out and said that he's definitely a pillar of our offense. He's going to be in a 49er uniform for a long time to come, but he's someone to keep an eye on as well. And you bring up a good point. I really do think that we're going to see some action when it comes to the trade market at the NFL draft.
There you have it. Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Hey, this isn't an NFL thing, but I know you're like me and you watch all the other leagues. I hated to see that Destroying finally got his big break, and then he got his big break his own neck, making a tackle after a kickoff.
The YouTube sensation?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it? And didn't he get up from the hit? Which kind of surprised me about this. Like, it doesn't look like a guy. When you hear that a football player broke his neck, know, you're assuming the worst. You're assuming ambulance on the field, being transported off the field in an emergency vehicle. This was not the case with this guy. He made a tackle on the kickoff, was able to come off, and all of a sudden it's revealed that he fractured his neck, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. So, yeah, that was pretty surprising because even those players were mic'd up, and you could hear him talking that it was a good hit, but it turns out that he fractured his neck. So that was something that was completely unexpected.
So a crazy story there. Nothing will top this. This is going to turn into a movie someday. The Chiefs fan who was a bank robber, who was a famous fan. He wore a wolf costume to the game. And this dude had a bank robbing spree and got caught and is in prison. and is awaiting his trial. Then he got sued by the bank teller that he put a gun in her face. But Chiefs-aholic is the guy's name. This has to be a movie of the week at some point, JD.
You know, I'm so upset because CBS didn't jump on the rights. I think ESPN's already jumped on, and they're already in production of making a film for this guy, Xavier Babudar, I think his name, the Chiefaholic, as you mentioned. Yeah, he's already facing a 50-year prison sentence after pleading guilty to all these bank robberies, which is going to be an amazing film. I agree. But now an Oklahoma judge has ordered him to pay $10.8 million to a bank teller that he threatened at gunpoint, which I don't understand where he's going to get that money. He's already in so much financial trouble as it is.
Yeah.
$3.6 million for physically assaulting and another $7.2 million in punitive damages as well. So, yeah, just another chapter for that very entertaining movie that's going to come out sometime in the near future.
You can't make this stuff up. Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports. He's not making anything up. He's writing about the NFL.
Well, Jordan, man, I'm going to name some of these players because I know you don't have this in front of you. In the AFC South, as of today, before the draft, who has the best receiving core? And I'll go name them real quick here with Houston Texans, Diggs, Collins, Dale. Jags got Kirk, Davis, Gabe Davis, and Zay Jones. Colts, Downs, Pittman, Pierce. Titans, Ridley, Hopkins, Burks. Give me the order.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans at 1.
Okay.
I think they've got a plethora of talent there, especially with the addition of Stephon Diggs. That's one that's going to be incredible, especially with Nico Collins coming off of his career year. But factor in that Tank Dell, who I absolutely love. I think he's going to be a star out of the slot. He's already undervalued as it is. I think the Texans are going to be at 1 there. Now, number 2, that's where it gets interesting because with the Tennessee Titans, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins has proven that he's still a 1, that he's still extremely productive as well. Then you add in Calvin Ridley, who, again, he just came back to the NFL last year and still had a productive season. So putting him in this system, which we hope is explosive with Brian Callahan at the helm, I'm hoping that Tennessee can be number 2. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, losing Calvin Ridley is a big deal. Gabe Davis is a deep threat weapon, but he's not someone who can replace the production of Calvin Ridley. And finally, the Indianapolis Colts. I think they did a great job locking down Michael Pittman Jr., not only because he's a legitimate number 1 wideout, but he's also a legitimate number 1 wideout that can grow with a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson. Alec Pierce had some good performances as well. But, man, it really comes down to if Anthony Richardson can just remain healthy to get the most out of that incredible wide receiving core. So, yeah, it's, I might have the Colts down there at number 4. At the best, I think they're 3. But Tennessee, they might be number 2 in the AFC South.
There you have it, JD, Jordan Dajani. I guess next, Aaron Donald. I saw him on TV yesterday. I go, oh, man, the best defensive lineman, in the NFL. And I'm like, who's going to be the next great, or who is now going to be the greatest defensive player currently playing? And, man, the list is long, but who do you think is on the list, and then who would you pick?
Yeah, Chris Jones has been that kind of guy who's been number 2 so far. He's getting a little bit older, right, which is true, but he just broke the market. So he's well paid. He's motivated to get that 3-peat. I mean, Chris Jones is absolutely going to be, the standard if we're not talking about Aaron Donald since he's gone. One guy I really like who I still don't think gets enough love is probably Quinnen Williams of the New York Jets.
Yeah.
He's someone who got paid recently as well, but people don't understand how destructive he is inside, and he really makes life easier, not only on the secondary, but the linebackers as well. So the Jets have one of the best defenses in the NFL, in my opinion, and I think Quinnen Williams is a big reason why. We know who Jeffrey Simmons is. That guy is absolutely one of the best defensive linemen as well. And then Christian Wilkins is another guy. Man, there's so many of them, right?
Well, what about pass rushers?
Revolution of interior defensive linemen getting paid. Christian Wilkins, I think, is someone who could potentially thrive with Vegas because they got some presence out there on the edge with Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby. Yeah. And then I'll bring up one more that I'm hoping can be one of the best in a couple of years, and that's Derek Brown, right? SEC product out of Auburn who just got paid. He set an NFL record with the amount of tackles he had from the inside spot. So he's a run stuffer, but he's athletic enough to get after the passer as well. There's a reason that the NFL teams are paying these interior defensive linemen because they play multiple roles when it comes to stuffing the run, but also applying pressure from the one spot where quarterbacks don't want to face it. And that's through the A-gap on the defensive line.
There you have it, Jordan Dajani.
JD, great stuff, man. Really cool article as well. People need to go check out where you basically did a mock draft based on what Vegas is saying who goes where. I really enjoyed that one and tons of other fun stuff at CBSSports.com. Thank you for the time today.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good show.
Yes, sir. Always great catching up with him. Follow him at Jordan Dajani. All right, when we come back, Ned Michaels, Masters preview real quick before we wrap up the show. Tell you who to look for to put on a green jacket with the man who knows. Ned Michaels next. Summer's just around the corner, getting warm outside. What do you want to do? I mean, let's be honest, you want to be at the lake, and here's your chance to have your own lake property. A limited number of lake lots being released to the public one day only, and it's coming up Saturday, April 20th. Your chance to experience resort lake living at a fraction of the price. 2-acre wooded lots and lake cottage packages, or a lake lot with your own covered boat slip that you could pull your boat right in. Private golf cart access to a new marina. They got walking trails and shoreline and a clubhouse, and they do waterfront concerts. I mean, just think about it. I mean, if you want to live there all year round or just have your summer spot, whatever you want, it's all just about 20 minutes from Knoxville, and there's financing available. And this is your chance to make those lake memories and have that lake life you've always dreamed about. So here's what you need to do. Get in on this limited property release. Again, it's April 20th. Go to lakelivingtn.com or call now. Make an appointment to see it. Then you know you'll want it. Give them a call, 865-408-9992. Memories start here. Powered by the Tennessee. Hello. Are we on? There we go. Blaine and Mickey. Starting to get worried there. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, the best around. We're on the air so you can hear stuff like this. Our man Ned Michaels checking in. Golfer extraordinaire, golf announcer extraordinaire, at Ned Michaels on Twitter. Ned, Blaine and me are watching the par 3 tournament, and more than anything, we're just wishing we were there right now. My gosh, it looks glorious, buddy.
There you go.
It is, my man. It's the Masters. It's glorious. Every year it is. And so far the weather has cooperated. It's been beautiful, calm winds, sunny skies.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's pretty much ideal.
Oh, my gosh. And now there's a chance the weather gets a little weird tomorrow, right? But I think every other day looks good.
Yeah, it's going to be unfortunate if that's what happens. We're supposed to get maybe 1 inch to 2 inches of rain. And right now the golf course is as firm as I have seen it in years. And the greens are bouncing. The fairways are springy. And it's just exactly what you want, because when the golf course plays firm and fast, anybody in the field can compete. But once it gets wet, once it gets soft, it really lends itself to the long hitters over the course of 72 holes. But if we only get a little bit of rain, this is going to be a wide open tournament.
Man, just listen to Ned use words like springy and bouncy and talking about golf courses. I could listen all day. Ed Ned Michaels joining us, CBS ESPN PGA Tour Live. He works for everybody.
Well, yeah, we'll start off with the broad question there. Key to winning the Masters, just going in whether the weather is good or bad tomorrow or not. Who do you think's game is set up to really win it?
Well, it's funny. You talk to different players, and then some will tell you, well, you need to be able to drive the ball well. Mm-hmm. And then others will say, no, it's a second shot golf course. It's all about the approach shot. And then others will tell you, no, it's all about the putter. Whoever putts the best is going to win. So when you get a golf course like that, it tells you that you have to do everything well. And you can ride one part of your game, but that may not take you to the green jacket. So when you look at guys who have been playing well, I mean, you have to start with Scotty Scheffler, right? He's the number one player in the world by a mile. He's the best ball hitter since arguably Tiger. Statistically speaking, he's far and away the best. The putter, a little bit bulky, though, so we're going to have to see. Switched putters. He's made some adjustments, but it's the Masters. It comes with a little more pressure. Yes, he's already won it, but that was a couple of years ago. He's a different player now. So that's where you start, and then Rory McIlroy, right? Everybody, including myself. I picked McIlroy at the beginning of the year, and I'm still on him. I loved what I saw out of him last week. He went and had a lesson a couple weeks ago with Butch Harmon. He's been texting and calling Butch almost every day since. And it seems like the stuff that they've been working on is he's starting to own it, and that's the main thing. Because under pressure, if you don't own it, and Blaine, you know this, if you don't own something under pressure, you're going to get exposed so quickly. So those are the two probably big bets that everybody's looking at in terms of who can win this thing. But I'm sure you got some other names that you want to throw at me.
No, I don't. I was going to say I'm cheering for Rory McIlroy. I think he can get the grand slam,
career
right?
slam, yeah.
Yeah. That would put him over the top right there, right?
That would, yep. There's just a handful of players who have ever done that, and I mean it's big time. And Tiger earlier this week in his press conference was asked about it, and he said Rory's going to do it. He's just too good not to do it. He'll get it done. So maybe a little positive mojo coming from Tiger to prod Rory on a little bit.
Well, there's some real positive info. I don't know if this is actually true, so you tell me if this is wrong or right. Scotty Scheffler, I think's wife may go into labor while he's there. Does he leave immediately, or does he finish the course? If that happened to anybody, by the way.
That is accurate. You're accurate.
Okay.
And he'll leave. That's just the kind of guy that Scotty is. And I guess probably anybody, first child, would do the same. You may remember back in 1999, Phil Mickelson had a beeper on his belt. His wife, Amy, was going to give birth, and he was playing the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And he said, if she goes into labor, I'm out of here. We got the jet fueled and ready and sitting on the tarmac. So Scotty's in the same situation. And, I mean, he's an old soul, so he's not going to miss something like that in life for, by his estimation, a golf tournament. Yes, it's the Masters, but it doesn't compare to that.
One more. Give me a long shot player you think, if he has a great 4 days, I guess maybe, he could win it.
Okay, I'm going to give you three. How about
do
that?
it.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
man.
three. I'm going to start with Adam Scott. I've watched him this week. He's as good as I've seen Adam Scott in years, and he looks relaxed. And he's on the range, just peppering flags, and it just looks automatic. His putting, people say he's not a great putter. I promise you, he has turned himself into a very solid, reliable putter. So Adam Scott, to me, he wasn't on my short list coming in here, but now he is in terms of guys from the outside who might have a chance. Of course, he's already won here, so he knows the course. He knows what to do. I like a guy named Sahith Theegala. He's just a second-time Masters participant, young guy, really fun to watch play. He's got stuff moving all over the place in his golf swing. Just a magnificent putter. Came here last year, first time on debut, had a terrific event. He's playing well. I like his attitude. And then I'm going to mention a guy. He's kind of out of left field. You may have heard of him, named Tiger Woods.
Okay.
I watched Tiger today on the tournament practice area for a good hour, and he came out and he started with the short game and was very strategic in what he did. Here's a little nugget. I stood up the last 3 days. I've stood out there for hours just watching everybody. And on the short game area, they have a couple of greens, and they have a little strip that goes down under these pine trees of primary rough. I have not seen anybody, not a single player, practice out of the primary rough in all the hours I was standing there, except today, Tiger Woods. Just little things like that he knows what he's doing, maybe better than others. But then he got to the range and he started hitting balls, and he picked out a pine tree down the right side, and he just started knocking the pine cones off of this thing. It was old school Tiger Woods. And then he picked the flag with a mid-iron, and every single shot started right where he wanted and landed soft right next to the flag. It was a absolute clinic. The only thing that was a little bit off-putting, some of the longer irons, he was catching a touch heavy. They're moving a little left to right, but he knows how to avoid having to hit those shots. So for me, it convinced me that there is, and you asked for an outside long shot, there is an outside long shot chance that Tiger Woods could find his way to the green jacket this year.
Wow. You're getting people fired up with that. You know, as someone said about him, he doesn't move the needle. He is the needle.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it got me fired up because I didn't expect to, A, see him on the practice area today, and B, I didn't expect to be impressed. I was both. He was phenomenal. The biggest issue is going to be the walk, and if it rains, because this golf course has so much undulation, you rarely have an even level lie. That's going to be tough on his ankle. It's going to be tough on his back. And, of course, as you know, when the ground gets wet, everything gets more difficult in terms of walking. So that is going to be what separates Tiger.
All right,
that could hurt him.
We got like 30 seconds, Ned. Any chance for Tommy Fleetwood or Tony Finau? Every year I think this is going to be one of their year, and it never seems to be their year at Augusta anyway, or, you know.
Yeah, I don't mind those guys. Tony not putting as well as I'd like. And I haven't got to the bottom of this, but Tommy last week and this week hasn't had Ian Finnis, his main bag man, his main caddy, carrying the bag. I don't know why, but I haven't seen him this week. Tommy's had a different caddy, and that always is a little bit off-putting. So those two, for me, they're not in my top five.
Okay. Ned, fantastic stuff. We know you're busy. Thank you for giving us some time today, buddy. Everybody follow Ned at Ned Michaels. Thank you.
Yeah. Bring us with you next time.
Guys.
Yeah, next time we want to stow away with you, okay? We'll carry your gear.
Bucket list, man.
Done. Thanks for letting me talk about this great game of golf, fellas. Take
yes,
care.
sir. Hey. Ned Michaels. Always love talking with him. The way he describes golf is the best. Yeah. The words that he uses. We're out of words today, by the way. We appreciate Ned sneaking in. Football Fred said, why are you talking about this? Because it's the Masters, Football Fred. Masters week. Anyway, we got to go. 3HL, they got you the rest of the way home.
In the meantime.
In between time.
Peace. We mastered that.
Yes.